Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, September 5th, and this is Blinkers Off. What is up, dude? Welcome to September. Welcome to fall. Welcome to football. We got it all going on this weekend, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's summer officially ended when the last race ended there at Saratoga, and so now here we are. We're here in fall, and depressing for a minute, and then you realize, oh, there is good stuff happening in fall as well. Like I said, football around the corner, and I said it last week on the show, and now we're in it this week. But I honestly feel like for whatever reason, the schedule for racing in September is much better than it's ever been this year. So I'm not quite as depressed as I usually am.
Well, I mean, it helps when you got football at pads. But yeah, from a racing standpoint, it does feel like it is a little bit better than normal. And you know, this year you've got two more than, but like today we're gonna talk about two Breeders' Cup Challenge races at Kentucky Downs, you know, and huge racing. And you know, we talk a lot about, you know, the Downs and what, you know, if it really means anything as far as like the body of work, but they're getting really good horses to come in, you know, and horses like Cogburn is he is the favorite to win the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, right? And he's running in Kentucky Downs this weekend. You've got Aiden O'Brien, you got, you know, Apple, like they're bringing horses over to run at Kentucky Downs. So whatever you want to say about the track, and to be fair, I'm not going to argue with you really, but they're bringing in serious horses. So it starts to have that question like, okay, well, it used to be like, do I take this track serious to, well, I have to, because look at the horses running there.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, it was very, very well said, and that's exactly right. You have to take it serious because, like in the past, they would bring in, you know, nice purses, but you look at the fields, it's like, well, these aren't really, you know, they're not going to win outside of here. But the last 3 or 4 years, that has really changed, and it's very much evident now how the form holds, you know, with better horses there, and what happens there specifically. Who knows what'll happen this weekend, right? But as far as, hey, are these serious horses? The answer is yes now at Kentucky Downs, and we'll talk about a couple of them that are very good. You talked about Cogburn. There's other races that have good horses in them as well. I don't know if you noticed, but especially last week and a little bit this week, a lot of international horses have kind of thought, okay, we could go over and run for these purses as well. So It's a lot to like.
Yeah, I mean, you got Spencer coming over to ride on that in that turf sprint, which is interesting, right? Because you have Cogburn, but hey, there's another one in there, a big 7-year-old that's been running well overseas, and it turned out to be that case last weekend when you had a horse, you know, that kind of maybe wasn't quite good enough overseas, but obviously comes over here, and so that is a very interesting kind of aspect to Kentucky Downs this year, especially. Yep. And not to mention, dude, we got closing weekend at Del Mar, which obviously comes with the debutante and the futurity, which will be run on Sunday. And listen, hey, everyone remember, Bob Baffert's back, baby. So all of a sudden, these 2-year-olds, like, it means a little more. It means a little more, right? Because now you're not saying, well, great 2-year-old, but what the hell does that mean? Or what's he going to do with them? No, I mean, these are horses that will be pointing, hopefully, to the Oaks and to the Kentucky Derby.
That's right. Yes, that is absolutely right. And it's always good to, well, I guess not say always good, but it's good now, I should say, to not have that hanging over our head anymore. And we know one way or the other. That's always nice. So yeah, it's nice to have it. And yeah, I love that Del Mar now ends this weekend. It kind of gives us an extra week of pretty good racing, at a major track like Del Mar to go along with Kentucky Downs, because, used to they both Saratoga and Del Mar would end on Labor Day, and now we've got that extra week. I think that really helps as well. So yeah, and like I said, the debutante and then the futurity, 2 races that have always been productive at Del Mar, and we'll see what happens this year, man. I think it's going to be fun having old Bobby back in the picture.
Me too. I'm excited. And listen, he's got clear standouts in both of those races, which obviously in the past have meant, I mean, he's dominated both those races, but he also is, those have been very good indicators to, at the very least, to the Breeders' Cup. And then as we head into the 3-year-old season. So I mean, these are meaningful races as it relates to them going down that road. But before we go down the road, the future road, let's look back a little bit. Last weekend was a huge weekend of racing, a lot of classic Breeders' Cup Classic implications, of course, with the Pacific Classic and the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Well, let's see. Let's start with the one you were unfortunately there for. You were there to see this in person, so obviously Arthur's Ride, a horse that we had talked a lot about, a horse that we even kind of said had a weird way to actually win Horse of the Year. Obviously not happening, but how disappointed were you in that effort from him in the Jockey Club?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 10. So if you missed that, if you missed a little bit of what happened at the Pacific Classic, it wasn't good. But then the next day was the Jockey Club. I'm sure we'll talk about Pacific Classic in a second. But the next day was Jockey Club, and I thought, it doesn't really matter what happened in California because we've got two pretty darn good horses here. Obviously, Arthur's Ride, and I was not. I wouldn't say I was sold on Tapit Trice as being like a major contender again, but I thought after that race at Monmouth, well, he's gotten better, or at least he's back to his best self, and that's worth something here. So I went into the Jockey Club pretty damn excited. I thought, all right, we can see Arthur's Ride. That's kind of a cool story. We'll see if Tapit Trice can kind of make up any ground on him in the stretch. There were, a horse or two. You thought, maybe that's a wild card. Arthur's Ride was awful. Tapit Trice, to put it blunt, I thought he pulled up at one point. He fell so far out of it. Super disappointing. And look, Highland Falls is an okay horse. Then we know that he's not terrible, but to see him win that race and win it that strongly, it's just like, oh my gosh, they didn't show up for this race whatsoever. So that was super, super disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that Highland Falls he got kind of curb stomped by Tapit Trice the last time out. And then you hear all of like, oh, well, you got a bad trip or got this or that's like bullshit. The horse got smoked by Tapit Trice last time. And like you said, Tapit Trice I don't even know if he actually finished the race. And Arthur's Ride basically got eyeballed by the horse that got smoked by Tapit Trice and gave it up and quit, whereas it was just an odd, because I don't know about you. I mean, you were obviously watching it live, so it's always kind of difficult to track real time. But like watching it live on video on TV, it was like, okay, like he doesn't look spectacular, but he's probably it's like I was like he's still gonna will his way to win this thing, like when he got to the top of the stretch, I was like, he's gonna battle back, and it's not gonna be a pretty win, but he'll, I was like, it's not what you wanted to see, but he's gonna win. And then he just he just gave it up, man. He gave it up, and shit, he couldn't even hold on for seconds. So it was a really, just a complete turnaround from a horse that, I thought going into the race had the potential to win the Classic to a horse that I don't know that we'll see again this year. I mean, that's how bad it was.
I was very confused by that race. And so I'm watching it. And by the way, Arthur's Ride looked tremendous in the paddock and the post, all of it. Like I was shocked he ran so bad. So you're watching the race and you're going, okay, he's getting pressured. Talk about Arthur's Ride. He is getting pressured from Highland Falls, but he's proven he can go pretty fast and then kick on. So I wasn't really worried at first, I'm talking. And then you look back and Tapit Trice is in the perfect spot. I mean, he's right there about 3 off of him. And you're thinking, okay, it's going to be one of these two. Arthur's Ride is going to kind of kick on and put him away, or he's going to be softened up. And Tapit Trice is sitting there perfect. Mm-hmm. So I'm up the backstretch. And I'm thinking, okay, Tapit Trice is going to be tough to hold off, but my eyes go back to the top 2 runners. And then you look at Arthur's Ride, and it's like, he's way done. Like he's finished. Like we're not to the turn, and you can tell he's done. So quickly the eyes go back, and it's like, where did Tapit Trice go? Where is he? Did he pull up? And you have to scale back, and it's like, how did he lose like 8 lengths to 2 horses, at least 1 horse that was quitting? It was so weird. And then, like I said, then he shows back up into the picture, and it's like, oh, he hasn't learned a thing. Like he's still an idiot. You know what I mean? So it just sucked. And look, Arthur's Ride, we've seen him throw duds before, and that's what he threw. Just a total dud.
Yeah, it's it's funny how like quickly that race changed for Tapit Trice, because like there for a second, honestly, dude, and this is how, again, this is how vastly the race changed in your, like, as far as your thought process watching the race, is I went from wow, Arthur's ride is like, this might be a little dicey because Tapit Trice is like, he's in a perfect spot. He's up closer. If he has that kick like he had last time, he's gonna be dangerous from this spot. To why he's going backwards, to Arthur's ride may not finish either. So it was like, what is like? It was just a lot to process. And even now, after we've had a week almost to process, I'm still not sure I understand really what happened, other than it's horse racing and they didn't show up.
I feel so dumb because I've been like ready for that race. I've been waiting, like all day. I was just like anxious. I was like, this is gonna be fun,
Yeah.
And I can confirm now, unless you bet Highland Falls. Obviously, if you did, that was fun. But I can confirm for somebody who was just watching more than just betting, was watching that race, thinking this will be a great race. We're gonna see a really good horse today. Wow, that was just really a stupid thought on my part. So.
Well, we did confirm that there were no main contenders for the Classic out of that race. I think we can safely say that. And thanks to Shoddy for segueing us into that. We'll go to the day prior, and you thought, hey, yeah, like, well, at least we got that out of the way. So you could just tell the way, we were putting the final touches on the Bible Friday, and it's like, oh, Adair Manor's scratching. Like, oh, that's great. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So now it's like Dr. Finkman is the quote unquote, standout. And you knew, like, this is not going to go well. This thing is opened up. And not only did it open up, but one of the longest shots on the board, mixed to wins the race, runs down the what was the horse's name? I forget the horse's name.
Full Serrano.
I was going Serrano something. Yeah, runs down that horse, ran well, but still at the same time, it's like, okay, that race, what was that? It was just from a Classic standpoint, a disappointing weekend, big time.
Yeah, I didn't single, but I only went too deep, and Full Serrano was one of them, and it was one of those things you're watching him and like, oh, he is not good, but nobody's good, and he may just win this thing. And you keep watching and watching, it's like, oh, he's bad. He's so bad, but nobody was coming to get him, and I'm like, he's going to win. It's like, oh, no, there's one horse that's moving, and it ends up beating him. And look, if Full Serrano's any good, that race is over, and it wasn't. And then, Mixto wins the race. Good for him. Just a horrible, horrible running of the race. Dr. Venkman just didn't do anything, didn't fire. Maybe it was a little too long for him. He just did not look near the same as his last couple of efforts. So all in all, just a horrible, horrible race.
Yeah, he maybe didn't, but he obviously didn't run very well either, Dr. Minkman. So it's kind of hard. I don't know what that was really. It just from the whole standpoint. I mean, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall. You didn't want to really believe it when she is scratched, but we talked about it on Blinkers Off last week. We're like, well, and I think the words were even exactly like, thank goodness she's in this race, because if she wasn't, we would be talking about a really shitty running of the Pacific Classic, but at least she makes it interesting. And as soon as she scratched, I thought, oh no, like this is going to be a disaster.
Well, and then you watch that race and you're like, oh, she would have won that easy, and it's easy to say it, but logically speaking, you watch how they came home and you're like, oh, she could have come home faster than that. So yeah, it sucks that she got scratched, because that, anytime a filly beats a boys in a grade 1 race, it's a big story, and it would have been nice, but instead we got the Mixto. So there you go.
How about the next day at Del Mar? Our boy Muth makes his return to the track after not running since the Arkansas Derby, and looked awesome, really. Do you think he would have? There was talk at some point that he would run a Pacific Classic. Obviously, they probably made the right move not doing that, but based on that effort and what we saw on the Pacific Classic, maybe he would have won that race.
I mean, I think there's talk that Muth runs in every single race this year, and he never does. And he finally got in one. But yeah, I mean, I think you look at it and go, well, shit, he's better than that. Like, if all those horses were in a race and you throw Muth in, I think Muth would be 4 to 5 to win the race. So
he looked incredible, But like more than anything, I thought, and I even text you while we were like in the post parade and stuff. I was like, damn, this guy, he may not have been running races, but he's been eating good. Like this guy, he filled out. He looked like a different horse than he did in March. Like if he can get him healthy or whatever the issues are, if he can keep him on the track, like this horse, like he to me is automatically a contender for the Classic. If again, like I mean, they think they're going to stay. Like Bob said after, like we're not leaving. We're staying in Del Mar. They're going to do the whole thing. Obviously, the build up. I mean, he's going to be one of those. It's kind of like Arabian Night, where you're like, shit, he could win, but at the same time, how much trust do you have in him? Probably not a lot.
I will say this. Let's say that he could get one more prep in him, which that horse getting 2 races in a row seems like a long shot, right? But I trust him anytime he enters him. I think that's kind of the way I'm going with him. Now, look, if he goes from just the shared belief to the Classic, that's going to be hard to kind of play him. But this is begging for a 3-year-old to win it right now, right? Yeah. Who does better with 3-year-olds in the Classic than Bob Baffert?
0.
I trust Muth. If he can get him there, I think Muth can win the Classic. But
in fact, because you're talking to the author of the 14 trends every year, the last 3 horses to do it have all been trained by Bob Baffert. 3-year-olds, I mean, that have done it. And so there's a reason why. And not is there? I just I don't know. I don't think there's a way, right? There's no way Muth can come in and steal the 3-year-old honors if he were to win the Classic, right?
No, I don't think that. No, I'm going to go with no.
The confidence level is very high.
I don't think so because you do have Fierceness, you do have Dornoch. They've kind of established themselves, winning those races. I don't think Muth can. I don't know the answer to that. Now, the more I think about it, the problem is like his resume is just so light. It's so light. But if he was to win the Classic, that would be something, right? Beat all those horses. But again,
I just don't think it'd be enough.
Look, I know it. And you watch him, and it's fun to not dream, but it's fun to think about. Hey, he's going to be here. He's going to be here. Who knows if we'll see him until like what? March of next year, right? So you can't with him. You just can't get too.
Be lucky if he runs in the Pegasus at this point. Like that would be a goal. I would say
it would be better than what he's been doing. Like from so
if he a lot of ifs, but if he would have ran in the say would have ran in the Pacific Classic and won, and then went on to the Classic and won, then you could be like, okay, I think I definitely could make a case for that being the 3-year-old of the year, but. Yeah, I just don't know that or even like the Pennsylvania Derby, say after today he goes to Pennsylvania Derby, or after last weekend he goes to Pennsylvania Derby and then wins the Classic, like a Bayern type of kind of direction. Then you're like, okay, I could, there's 2 grade 1s there.
Yeah.
Well, Arkansas Derby as well. So it's like, okay, like you can make a case for it. Right. But I just don't, I think he's 1 race too short.
I do too. I think you're right. And I with the other factor being, how do the other 3-year-olds run in the Classic as well?
Right.
That would be another factor. And again, can't say it enough. Will Muth ever be seen again is the other factor to this thing. Who knows?
Well, I know one horse that was probably particularly happy. Well, not like you should give a shit, but maybe the trainer was, Torpedo Anna and McPeak. I mean, only made this case a little bit stronger to get to that horse of the year after this past weekend with some of the bigger long shots and the more unlikely winners of these races, the better chance that the easier her path would get to winning those honors. But I think as it stands today, honestly, when we look at the Classic, I really think it's. I'll just say this. I think it's Bob Baffert, and you can just enter that horse, whatever horse you want to put there. But right now it's Muth or one of the, Euro/Japan horses. That's where I'm going. I just think that's right now the most likely winners.
So when you think about it, remember last year we were on here and we're like, oh boy, this Classic, it's just not great. It was a lot better than what's shaping up right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
we have nothing as far as like what we have.
I mean, this isn't good. And now, look, I do think these 3-year-olds, thankfully, they've come on, but they're still questionable. To me, like if Fierceness can kind of run the race he ran in the Travers, he probably should be the favorite after what we've seen.
Yeah.
No, but again, it's Fierceness, so you never can get just real excited because what he's capable of looking like one way or the other,
Yeah.
So.
Let's not forget, Fierceness beat the hell out of Muth last time they faced each other as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, like, it'd be nice to see them again, going at each other again. But,
yeah.
It still kind of feels like it should. It all runs through Fierceness. So,
yep.
We'll find out. Obviously, lots to look forward to. Gosh, I mean, we have like 1 month, one solid month.
Crazy.
Of preps because, obviously you need a month out to kind of the gap between the end of the preps and the Breeders' Cup, and Breeders' Cup's, the beginning of November. So you're looking at like one solid month of prep races. And so, I mean, it kind of feels like all this time, it's like, oh yeah, I got time. Like we'll let it work itself out. Well, we don't have that much time.
No.
You're going to have to start making some decisions here fairly soon. But speaking of that, we've got Breeders' Cup races. Let's get into the weekend. We're going to preview and give picks for the weekend's major stakes races this weekend at Del Mar and Kentucky Downs, including the $2 million FanDuel TV Kentucky Turf Cup Stakes. It's a win you're in for the Longines Breeders Cup Turf. And you know what it is. It's week 1 of the NFL. So we're going to look at that a little bit and this is our annual tradition, give our Super Bowl predictions. Let's go.
That's right. You don't even have to watch the NFL season if you watch this show.
Yeah, that's basically just pick the Chiefs every year. So that's all I do.
Yep.
Do pretty well. So
I never lose.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's you get the AFC right, and then you got the NFC's the one. I got it right last year, but we'll see if we can do it again. I got a flyer on the NFC this year, so we'll see.
Are you? Well, we'll just find out.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'll find out. But tonight, man, big game tonight. I got 2 big games. You got the Falcons game tonight, and then I got to rush home and watch the Chiefs game. So back-to-back big games, doubleheader.
I finally heard somebody say the correct answer because they were talking about what would a win mean for Lamar tonight in Kansas City, and all these idiots on ESPN were like, "Oh, it would mean so much," and one guy said it doesn't mean anything. It's like it would mean absolutely nothing if they won tonight. He's like, why would it make any difference if he wins or loses this game tonight?
I mean, why? Yeah, what's the point? And honestly,
yeah,
as much as as a Chiefs fan, obviously I want to win every game. What does it actually mean if the Chiefs win or lose this game?
The other commentators, it was like they'd seen a ghost. They could not. They were just appalled by this, and I'm like, finally, it means nothing.
It's week
if
1.
Lamar beats the Chiefs tonight, it means literally nothing.
you remember last year the Chiefs, blow up or blow kind of the win against Detroit on the home, the opener,
right?
And Detroit's like, oh man, Detroit's back, and yeah, they had a great season. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
remind me who was in the Super Bowl, and so it's like it doesn't really mean week 1 almost means nothing.
Well, and for Lamar, it's all about playoff now. Like he could win every regular season game, but until they win in the playoffs,
from his standpoint, it's like who cares?
Exactly. See, that's just it. And it's like nobody seems to get that reports on football, but that's the truth of it, So,
anyways, all right. All right, we got weekend racing to talk about. We're going to start at Del Mar. This is on Saturday, race number 4, the FanDuel Racing Del Mar Debutante Stakes, Grade 1, worth $300K, going 7 furlongs for fillies, 2-year-olds. We got 7 of them in here. We got a couple Bafferts, Nooney and Tinma. Baffert has both of these 2-year-old races that we'll talk about at Del Mar this weekend. Over a barrel a little bit, but Nooney, dude, this horse has been hyped up and has kind of lived up to it so far.
Yeah, Nooney's been very good, 2 for 2 to start the career, and obviously with Hernandez aboard, that's the one they like the best out of the two. So I think it's a Baffert 1-2 here. I think Nooney will win it, and I think Tim will run second. I think the one wild card that I kind of wanted to talk about, because look, I mean, we can talk about the Baffert horse all we want. They're good. They're winning races nicely. What about the 7? I thought that was the interesting horse in the race. The 7 is Jack's Magic Girl, coming off of a turf win on debut where she looked really good. Now going to the dirt. You usually don't like that angle, but this breeding says the dirt should be better. The horse is By Good Magic out of Medaglia d'Oro mare. I don't know. It's interesting to see that 7 horse. I think that's kind of the wild card to me.
Yeah, that horse looked good on debut, like you said. I don't know if they're, just got that. Well, it's a 2-year-old filly. Let's run. Let's just do it because it's here, or if it actually means, hey, this horse has got the ability on the dirt. Let's try it. So that's always a question mark. I don't. I do think the horse is interesting. I liked. I thought that if you're looking up underneath horses, Vodka with the Twist is a horse that's just kind of been, facing some of these, good ones, especially last time out, got second to Nooney. Like maybe this is a horse that has no chance to win, but underneath, like if you're like, hey, this is a lock for the 2 Bafferts, like 1-2, I could see Vodka with the Twist actually being the second place horse versus, versus one of those Bafferts. If you want to like juice up that exacta a little bit. So underneath, I don't have a lot of Nooney, I just the way she hasn't won the debut was, but the last race to Toronto was like, okay, like it wasn't like ultra, like she didn't run off the screen, but she did the way she did it. It was like, okay, she knows like what she's doing. So stretching out, obviously, off of that 6 furlongs to 7 now, don't think it'll be a problem. So Nooney, and honestly, like here we go, right? Because once if she wins this, then it's going to be on to the Breeders' Cup, obviously, and she'll probably be the favorite there too, right?
Yep, I would think so. And that's always kind of once we'll get some stretch outs, some races and some stretch outs, and that's when that you'll kind of really get an idea of who the Breeders' Cup favorite will be. But yeah, I mean that's obviously going to be the goal for whoever comes out of this, and then we'll see when they go to 2 turns how they look. But yeah, for right now, I would think that's going to be the plan, and I do think if she can win here, she's going to exit as one of the favorites for sure.
All right, let's go off to Kentucky Downs. We got 2 Breeders' Cup races at Kentucky Downs on Saturday. We'll kick things off with race number 10, the FanDuel TV. Man, FanDuel has just really paid some money this weekend. FanDuel TV, Kentucky Turf Cup Stakes, grade 2. Oh, worth a cool $2 million going 1.5 miles on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. You got a field of 11. Aiden O'Brien brings a horse in on the outside. The 11, Chief Little Rock at 4-1. But your favorite, Halterman, number 2, Integration. Can Integration finally get through on a big win and get that ticket to the Breeders' Cup Longines Turf?
No, I don't think so. I would not bet Integration at 8-5 with stolen money. Even Shoddy's money, I don't think I would do it with.
Ooh, wow.
I'm going to go number 4, Get Smoking on top. I'm going to go a long shot here, 12-1 on the morning line. Get Smoking, and look. Last year at 19-1, this horse won this race. So 12-1, hey, better odds than last year to do it, right? And oh, by the way, last time out did win a race at Monmouth. So that's good as well. Won by a nose over Grand Sonata and Tawny Port. And, I think the other big thing is, and this as good as I do, Mark Cassie's been on fire lately. He's had a great summer. I know it's fall technically, I guess now, but I really like Get Smoking. So I put number 4, Get Smoking on top here for Cassie. I do like the 11 a little bit as well. I want no part of the 2. That's for sure.
Listen, 2 could win easily because his horse has got a lot of talent, but at playing that horse at 8-5. And listen, like the horse has been, look at the horses. The horse is Master of the Seas and Warm Heart and Nation's Pride. Like all those horses would be very heavy favorites if they were to run in this race. Problem is the horse, hasn't gotten a lot of wins in these big races. And I know it's Kentucky Downs, but this is, they brought in some nice horses to run in here. So if you're playing the horse at 4-1 or 5-1, then fine. But at 8-5, I'm with you. I'm having a hard time getting there with that one. I really like your horse. I think the Get Smoking has got a big time case here to win, going gate to wire. The horse has won the Kentucky Downs. The horse has won at this distance. I mean, I think there is other speed in the race, but he kind of looks to me like the speed of the speed. And sometimes, we saw it last time out that he kind of stole the race, right? So I like the 4. I'm going to go the 11, though. Chief Little Rock. This worked out well for me, picking the shipper, the overseas shipper last week. I'll do it again here. Just another one of those cases. Bellum Justice, who came over here and won. This horse finished third to the horse, 3 back over at Epsom. So, I mean, obviously kind of the same train of thought. If like the whole idea with Epsom, or I'm sorry, Bellum Justice was like, hey, like you're coming from over there to here. Like, surely you can pull that off here. He did. I think the same thing here with Chief Little Rock. Now the distance and the class, going up against 4 olders is going to be kind of the question mark. But I don't, Aiden's not shipping over here to Kentucky Downs in a field to just say, hey, let's see what happens. So give me the 11 Chief Little Rock at 4-1. All right, let's go to the next one here. Race number 11, the Ainsworth Turf Sprint Stakes, Grade 2. Another $2 million race going 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. Field of 12 lines up here. And look who's finally going to run in a race. Number 4, Cogburn. It seems like it's almost like the legend has grown with him, because it's been like a year, it feels like, since he's actually ran that incredible race. He's finally running here, but dude, he's stretching out now a little bit. 6 furlongs at Kentucky Downs where he's not had success. Thoughts on him? Is he vulnerable?
He is, because of the Kentucky Downs situation. I think that is a big question mark. I went back and forth. I had a couple of longer prices put on top, and I ended up going back to the number 4 Cogburn. I think my theory, what I kind of landed on, is, one, if this was on a normal racetrack, he's a way standout. So that was number 1. And number 2, yes, he didn't win at Kentucky Downs. It's the only time he's lost on the turf was here at Kentucky Downs. However, right after that race, he was off for the rest of the year and didn't come back until, May. So he may have gotten, there's no May, he got injured in that race. And that could be the explanation for why he didn't win. It might not be as simple as, oh, well, he hated the track. If he would have came back 45 days later and won, then it would have been, yeah, he hated that track. He could have just got hurt in that race, and that is the issue. So I'm going to go with that angle. I mean, I don't think you're going to argue if he shows up with his best, he's going to win.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that is worrisome about him, it has to be kind of a messed up training situation to have a horse ready to fire twice and it get canceled or taken off the turf. So that is kind of to me, the more of the worry than even the Kentucky Downs situation. But I think he can win this one on class. If he's ready to rock, I still think he's going to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I think that has to be a part of it. Honestly, dude, like the distance, like, oh man, he's more of like a 5.5 guy. Like now you're going to 6. And sometimes with Kentucky Downs, like 6 can more be like 6.5 really. But the way he's a different, and I mean, that's pretty evident. He's a different horse than he's been his whole career right now. You can't tell me you sit there and watch the Jaipur and said, well, boy, if they would have gone another half furlong, he was in trouble.
Right. No.
So it's like, all right, so I don't have much concern with the distance. I think more than anything, like you said, it's just the unknown, like the unknown of Kentucky Downs, right? But so I'm going number 4 Cogburn too. I do like the 8. I mean, I think you have to like the 8 a little bit in here. Cadam, Jamie Spencer, like I mentioned earlier, coming in to ride this horse for Charlie Hills. But this is an international horse that's the last 2 have not been great, but this horse did win at Royal Ascot, which was quite the effort as well, coming from off of it as well. So it's a big 8-year-old, been running for a while. So we'll see. Like, it's crazy that this horse is still going and still shipping over here. I like him. I don't think he's good enough or fast enough to catch the 4. So give me Cogburn.
All right. I feel better that we're both on him, because I kind of wanted to pick against him, and I just kept looking at it like, okay, if he can run on this track, they're not going to beat him. But I get it. I mean, I think anytime you watch a race at Kentucky Downs, you're not really surprised by the result. And if you are, then you kind of need to stop doing that because nothing should be real surprising here. And if he loses, I'm not going to be shocked. But I really believe he's going to win. So,
well, and it's like I looked at it like, okay, I mean, there are what's like the word? Like there are reasons why he could lose, right? Because it's like then you're like, oh well, maybe he doesn't like Kentucky Downs, or the whole issue of like, well, he's been trying to get to the race get to a race, and they keep whatever. It's like, so there are things where you look back and say, well, yeah, that I guess that's why he lost, but how can you can't predict that, right? I mean, so that's like the best horse in the race is undoubtedly, if they ran it 10 times, I think he wins 9 times. So let's just put it that way. All right. We do not have the futurity out yet. This is on Sunday, September 8th at Del Mar, the grade 1 Del Mar futurity, $300,000 grade 1. But we do have an idea who's going to run in the race. But most importantly, we know that Baffert's going to have at least a couple in there. Citizen Bull, Gaming, and Getaway Car. Certainly Gaming and Getaway Car seem to be aiming here for this race. Both those horses, dude, ran, is either the same weekend or the same day?
Same day, I think.
It's when we were out in Seattle. I remember that.
98% sure it was the same day.
Yeah. Okay. So either way, they ran very similar times or very similar. And so we're like, you kind of have good comparison of the two. So what are you thinking here? Obviously, this is a point to go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and of course, from there go to the Kentucky Derby. So these are legit horses that could be running that first Saturday in May.
Yeah, no, absolutely they are, and I kind of have to go with Gaming. I thought he was a little bit more impressive, to be honest. But it's one of those things. It's a debut horse versus a horse with a little bit of experience at least. So there's hit and miss on what really wins out there. But I do think Gaming is very, very good. I was very impressed with that debut effort out of him. Mackenzie's Street, I think, is a horse. Or is it Mackenzie's? I can't think of the horses. Yeah, Mackenzie's Street. That horse is pretty interesting to me as well. I think that's a horse you better keep an eye out for. That was a very, very, very good debut out of him.
So do you think, are there any concerns with these horses moving forward, like as far as kind of the main contenders of this race from a breeding standpoint, or getting longer? Do you like Gaming here, but you think Getaway Car is maybe bigger, more of a long term, you know what I mean? Like, do you think both of them have that potential?
Oh, I kind of like Gaming better going longer, and maybe that's not what we really need to be looking at for this race specifically, because it is 7 furlongs. But I think Gaming is the long-term play here based off the one race we saw. I thought he did it a little bit easier. I thought he looked like a horse that wanted more ground. And again, maybe Getaway Car can get him here in the 7 furlong spot. But I think going forward, Gaming, and I'm talking about as a 3-year-old, I think Gaming has got the better future. But look, I think this is going to be a big proving ground, and you never really know until they get out there. I think who rides who will be interesting in here as well when we see that, when they're drawn here in a couple hours. What jockey gets on what horse will kind of be a tell as well.
Yeah, you got the game winner, obviously, to a Curlin, which could argue will get better, right, as they get a little bit older. But that was on 8-11. And the Getaway Car was 8-11, the best pal. So
yeah, it seems like Gaming ran a maiden actually after the stakes race that day.
Yeah, that was race number 3, and that was race 7. Yeah, so
okay,
it was later in the day.
Because it's one of those stakes races where there wasn't hardly any horses in it, so they put it early. And then Gaming came out. Because I remember we were sitting there with John and we were kind of discussing, okay, who was better out of this? So I think the numbers came back like similar, almost the same. So To see them go against each other will be very interesting. But it's kind of like Nooney and Tinma. You got one that's got that experience with a stakes win, then you got one that just has that maiden win, but it was an awfully good win.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting cases here where you're like, okay, well, you got the ownerships are big, obviously, both cases, and they same trainer, same day, so you have a lot of like comparison things to like. There's really not a clear answer as who is the horse. I mean, literally either one, and maybe you bet it, you base it off of how the morning line is, or how the money is being bet. If that kind of gives an indicator of which Baffert horse is the one, right, or whatever. But this feels like one of those cases where it's like, well, I kind of, it's like wait and see, really. I mean, if you're playing the race, you hope you get lucky and you pick the right one, and if you're playing multis, you play them both. But it's really, there's not a clear answer, really. Because they were obviously more aggressive with getaway car, but that could also mean because he was running in the best pal. But it's like at the same time he could have been, or gaming could have been a little bit slower to get kind of going.
Yeah, this time of year that's usually what it is. He's just kind of slow to get going, not quite got his feet under him yet, and getaway car kind of got going earlier, and that could be all that is. So yeah, look, I think it's that time of year where you see the quote unquote other Baffert win a lot. Because I think in a way, all these trainers, and Baffert's very good about knowing which ones are his best versus second, third, or whatever. But in a way, we are at the time period where all these trainers are learning about these horses every single day. And I remember when Locked and freaking, I can't remember the other Pletcher horse, was in a maiden special weight when they both debuted. Pletcher liked that other maiden better. And then wasn't 3 weeks later, and Pletcher was like, wait, Locked is way better. So I mean, that was just last year, and that happens a lot, so things change rapidly. You hear something about these 2-year-olds before they debut, maybe you hear about them before their second starts, and then by the time they get to their third, fourth, or fifth, the opinions are all different.
I can just based off of looking at the workouts, it kind of looks like getaway car is going to be, he's out working a little bit. I would say gaming. I mean, it's always impossible to say, but so maybe based off that, a little bit quicker works, especially that last workout. Almost worked. Getaway car worked 5 furlongs in 59 and 4, and did it 5 of 81. So he did a little bit quicker than gaming. So maybe you see getaway car on the lead. Obviously, that typically is the case where you see one of them, on the lead, the other one not, and so we'll see. But obviously, it's fun to have these kind of horses in. Because it's always tough when, I mean, it's not like even when he was suspended, he had horses running in these races, but at the same time, you're like, well, what is he going to do with these? It's like, I guess the Breeders' Cup or whatever. But now it's like, instead of working to the Breeders' Cup, Baffert's like, he's working once he starts to get his horses, like, okay, let's get him to the Kentucky Derby, and that's a whole new thing and a whole new ball game as far as, preparing for next year.
Yeah, everything's totally different, different aspects for sure. And the horse was BU. The horse was BU. Debuted before that day. Yeah.
BU. All right. So you are going to take gaming, I guess it sounds like. Depending, I mean, obviously post positions and how, who's on what. Make sure you go to the site, racingdudes.com, later on today once the fields are posted, and we'll have a better idea of who we're going with in that one. But as it stands now, you're kind of leaning towards gaming, correct?
I'm leaning towards gaming. Definitely not a final decision until I get the past performances. And like I said, that'll be later today. I'll actually probably do a video on it later today as well. I don't know when it'll be up, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, as of right now, with no knowledge other than who might enter, I think I'm going to go with gaming. But that could change. Yeah.
Honestly, dude, I think I'll like the one that, and it's probably too elementary, but at the same time, in this case, it's like, okay, whichever one Hernandez is on, I'm probably taking, and then from there I can see what happens or see how the bets or the betting's happening or whatever. But I imagine that's how a lot of people are going to bet this race based off of, I mean, because like I said, you have all things similar, similar days, similar running styles, obviously same train, all the things. So it's like, that's going to be the only kind of quote unquote tell, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
All right.
it.
Stay
So
tuned. Stay tuned, guys.
And then, next week we got the Iroquois. They finally stretch out. That'll be the first time they really stretch out in a stakes race. So
it's true.
That always is a dose of reality. Every time you watch that, it's like, okay, here's the Saratoga maiden that just won impressively going 6, and now they're 2 turns. And it seems like that's always the dose of reality race for some of those type of horses,
That and you always look back at the past performances, and you can always point to the Iroquois of being like the kind of the where the path split. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, these horses started going this way, and these horses started going this way. It is kind of and sometimes you'll have one more try, like as a 3-year-old. That first race is a 3-year-old, but mostly you get a pretty good idea of the real ones. Is our boy gonna have a horse in the race? Have you heard in the Iroquois?
As far as I know, yeah. As far as I know, Jack's time will be there. I haven't heard anything different, but I haven't heard confirmation of that. So, yeah, could be an Iowa bred in there, and I hope there is, and I hope he runs well.
Hope. All right, we'll find out.
That's all you can do, right?
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on the products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. Guys, big week. NFL starts. Obviously, college football started, but now we have football on NFL Friday too. So you're gonna have a game tonight. You're gonna game Friday. So it doesn't get much better than this, dude. Tonight, Chiefs and the Ravens, the AFC Championship rematch. So what are you thinking about tonight? But mostly, like, we do this every year. We kind of talk about, this is the podcast where we talk about kind of the overall thoughts of the season and who we're looking at our Super Bowl pick. So you've been doing a lot of research on this. I know you've been doing on a couple different shows talking about this. So where have you kind of finally settled on?
Yeah, look, I love the Chiefs, and I will have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl again. I don't see why you don't at this point. They should be a little bit better version this year of what they were last year. And let's not forget, last year they were not great until they had to be. So Chiefs in the AFC for me, I took a flyer in the NFC. I think the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC this year. And I think people will think immediately that that's a little crazy, but when you look at what they've done in the offseason and that team that they've kind of assembled there, I think this is a very good team, and I think they will definitely challenge San Francisco for the division. And I think they're the team to beat in the NFC. I really like the Rams. They're a long price as well. I like that. So if you're going to go chalk with the Chiefs, you can counteract it by going a little bit of a longer price with the Rams. I think they're going to be awfully good.
Yeah, I like the Rams. I love Matt Stafford this year. I took Cooper Kupp in our fantasy league last night. I just think he's a steal. Like with him and Puka together, hopefully they can, especially Cooper can stay healthy. But yeah, I think anytime you got Stafford, like he's just a baller, man. So and they got the defense, they got a running game. So yeah, I do think. I listen, not much different on my side on the AFC. Of course, taking the Chiefs. Before I get to the NFC, with the Chiefs, it's like, I mean, if we've not, I mean, he's got to have proved it by now. But like, if last season didn't prove, like, they were easily the worst of their, Mahomes' tenure last year. The defense spalled, but offensively was easily the worst. It led the league in drops. Had no real clear wide receiver until late in the season when Rashee Rice kind of erupted. But they just they find a way. What the Chiefs remind me of, and Patrick in particular reminds me of, it's like like when you were playing, say, I don't know how often you play like Madden or something against like a nephew or something that's not very good. You're just kind of like fucking around. And you're just like, and like it's close. It's like, all right, now it's time to turn it up. Like I need to I'm not gonna lose to him, right? And so it kind of feels like that's what they do. They could start the season 2-3. They could start the season 5-0. They could start, be struggling a little bit. It's like at this point, and it goes back to what we said in the opening. Like these regular season games for the Chiefs don't really mean a whole lot. I mean, yeah, you need to win the division and stuff like that, but it's almost like they're bored, and a lot of coaches, especially Andy, like to mess around. Like I know so many people that are always so devastated the Chiefs can't win preseason games. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why do you want them? Like they're just messing around. But he carries that into the regular season. They don't show anyone anything until late in the season and then into the playoffs, right? That you kind of see the plays sort of like they're figuring out their stuff throughout the season. And so I just think no matter what happens tonight, no matter what happens in the month of September, the Chiefs are going to be there at the end. And listen, NFC side, I'm not taking the 49ers. I'm not taking the Eagles. I'm not taking the Lions. Give me the Packers, who I think could have and should have been maybe that NFC representative this last year, if not for maybe some bad breaks and just, Jordan Love didn't quite pull through. But Jordan Love gets the fat contract in the offseason. I love maybe my favorite young wide receiver group on the Packers. And then, of course, you've got Jacobs over there, and you've got the run game, and the defense is not bad either. So I love the play calling. I think the Packers, I think right now they're like plus 1,800 or so to win the Super Bowl. So give me the Packers versus the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going to three-peat. Chiefs are going to three-peat, become the first team to do it. So there you go.
Yeah, Packers, not a bad pick. I think I'm somewhere between they're a little overhyped and they're where they should be. I think the key's going to be Jordan Love. He was excellent at the end of last year. Can he keep that up? Is that real? If that's the real him? If so, I think they'll be tough. And you're right. They should have been there and they didn't get there because he made some mistakes in that big game on the road against the 49ers. So we'll see if he can kind of correct that this year. It's a good pick.
What would you say? Who are you? Let's make it like, who are you most concerned about in the NFC from your Rams pick, and who are you most concerned? Like, who's the AFC team? Are you like? Is it to me? It's the Bengals, right? I think it's the Bengals because as long as they can stay healthy. I mean, again, that's a big if, but they have been proven to be the kryptonite to Mahomes, or Burrow at least has been. So the Bengals would be mine from the AFC standpoint. From the NFC standpoint, I mean, I think just based off of I would probably go 49ers just because they're the 49ers and perennial. Kind of like the Chiefs a little bit. They just can't get the job done at the end. But I do think they are the biggest threat to my Packers pick.
Yeah, I'll go probably. I think the Bengals are the answer in the AFC because I don't think the Bills are going to be very good this year. So I'm not worried about them. I'm not going to ever worry about Lamar. Sorry. So I think the Bengals are the right answer there. And then NFC it's interesting. I can't explain it really, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the 49ers this year. I'm not that high on them. And then it's like, well, who am I high on? Are we going to say we're afraid of the Lions? Probably should be.
Yeah.
That probably should be the answer. I mean, if you take the name off the chest,
yeah,
you just put that roster somewhere, it's damn good. So I'm going to take the Lions, but it's weird to say that. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Lions are just going to the reason they're so scary in my opinion is just because they've got, I mean, Goff has found his rhythm on a team, and obviously Amon-Ra is a beast, and you've got the defense and the offensive line and everything. They've got, like, they're just a team that's going to make you win. You know what I mean? They're going to make you beat them in every game, and so they're going to be a tough out for any of these teams. They're never going to just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
So that kind of team is super scary in the playoffs for sure. So okay, so one question. Let me see. Let's see. Who's going to have the better season, the Texans or the Bears?
Oh, the Texans.
Who's going to have the better quarterback play? Texans, Bears, or no. Do the Bears or Jaden Daniels on the Commanders? Who do you like better? Who's going to are you buying into the Caleb yet?
No. I don't buy into Daniels either, though. I think
Maybe
Washington
the better question
will have
is who's the rookie of the year?
I think it'll be Jaden Daniels.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I do.
But
I don't
stay healthy. I think he will be.
I don't have a strong opinion on that either way. That's just if I had to answer it, that's how I'd answer it. But that's not something I would put a wager on because I'm not really interested in that market to begin with. I am really, atrociously bad at predicting what quarterback's going to translate to the NFL. Once they get there and you watch them play, you got a good idea. But the guys that end up being good in the NFL, I never get right. So you probably don't want to, that's one thing you don't want to listen to me about or on that subject. I can't see either one of those guys being great, but that means they probably will be.
Jaden Daniels, I think he's got that talent for sure. I just don't know if he can, his health wise, if he can stay healthy in the NFL. We never know how that will translate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is interesting from a rookie standpoint as far as rookie of the year. I don't know what the odds are on rookie of the year bets right now, but
if he's not a star,
if
he's not a star, I will be shocked.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got that, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, that kind of like bam, as soon as they hit the NFL, it's okay, he's NFL guy. Now his kryptonite is also the team he plays for and his quarterback play, I should say, and how long Kyler will play and if he's going to be healthy and all those things. If Kyler can play a full season, yeah, like because you say what you want about Kyler, he'll make some throws to Marvin, and he'll get enough play. But if that thing falls apart over there, then that could be his hampering.
They're my sleeper team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cardinals, because if he gets in a lot of ifs, but with a sleeper team, there's going to be ifs. But if he can stay healthy, I think they've got a very good coach. I really do. I was super impressed when he came back. Talk about Kyler Murray when he came back and actually played last year. That was a tough out. That was a really good team. They were tough to beat. Can he stay healthy? Who knows? I don't. That's probably not. Is probably the answer to that, honestly. But they've got players. They've got a good coach. I think Marvin Harris is in a great situation unless the injury happens, and then who knows from there.
But hey, man, they've got players. They've got, I think, the rookie last year, Michael Wilson, he's a beast. Obviously Marvin Harrison, the Trey McBride had a great season last year as a tight end. He should bounce back and have another one. And again, as long as Clayton Tune's not playing quarterback, then they should be in a good. James Conner, he's a workhorse. Like he's a 3-down back. So yeah, I mean Arizona's got a lot of potential to. I think the NFC West, from an NFC West standpoint, it's going to be tough with your pick there in the Rams.
Yeah,
but that could be a dogfight.
Well, I think the Cardinals are going to Buffalo and winning this week. That's my upset of the week.
I love it.
I really think they're going to go out there and win because I don't think Buffalo's going to be that good this year. And I think they'll take them lightly. And I think Cardinals can beat them.
So let me ask you this, and and this is not necessarily your kind of cup of tea because you're more of a team versus individual players, but like last night, it made me start thinking last night we did our draft. And I'm so curious about how the Texans wide receiver group is going to unfold. I really am, because you got a guy like Diggs who, he wants that contract or he wants to be, he is that contract guy and he's like the guy, right? Wherever he goes.
Yeah.
But now you've got Tank Dell, who was a beast last year until he got hurt. Nico, who was a beast all year. Really good. Like there's a case you can make that Diggs is a third option, on that team. And so it's like, how do you think that's going to play out? Like, is he going to demand the ball too much, Diggs? Or do you think, like, I'm just very curious because there's 3 kind of wide receiver 1 guys on that team.
I think he'll be number 1. I think in a new offense, I think he'll kind of be rejuvenated a little bit. I think he'll be number 1, but I think it's Tank number 2 and him number 1. That's kind of the way I view it. And then you kind of go from there. I think it will be very interesting to track his effectiveness versus what he was in Buffalo. I think that is going to be fascinating. Not even from just a quarterback standpoint, but how do you use them? What his impact will be, what his ceiling is, he's getting a little bit older. Like, what's he got left, so to speak? I think that's all going to be fascinating stuff.
Well, so much is, I think, in not just him and these players, but on the team, so much is riding on those 4, I guess, if you want to count with the quarterback, like that cohesiveness, because if they can make it about winning games and not individual, and I say that for one person because Diggs has always been that guy that's chirping on the sidelines, wanting the ball. If they can do that, then that's just a 3-headed monster that no team is going to want to. Because I think legitimately, I think Tank Dell is an absolute star. Nico is like he's an unbelievable talent, great possession receiver. As long as Diggs can if he could really work with those guys and help them become better players as well, then that's what's going to help them get further down, to me, in my opinion, and help CJ Stroud, who I think has a big shot at being an MVP type player this year. Yeah,
I was going to ask about CJ Stroud. I think that's going to be the big thing. Was it a one-hit wonder situation? I know it wasn't, but forget about one-hit wonder. Will he be as good? Like, can he not even rebound, but can he show up and do that again? Because that was exceptional last year. And if he's that kind of guy again, that's a team you better be afraid of, right? I mean, they look darn good.
Well, not the problem, but the thing is with last year, it was like, okay, well, he was, he was obviously a top pick, but he wasn't the top pick.
Right.
And so it was like he had something to prove right there. And then, so even going into the season, it wasn't like CJ Stroud is going to be the baller everyone expecting,
Right.
And so he kind of throughout, now as the season went on, became clearer and clearer, but now you're like, okay, he is the baller. He is the guy. He is the next MVP. He is a super, all those things. You're like, well, like you said, now you got to go out there and do it. Now you got to prove it that you are. I think he is. Like, they've put an insane team around him. I mean, I can't think of it. Well, honestly, the other guy is Caleb Williams. They put a great team around him.
Yeah.
Like, as far as young quarterbacks, like those kind of caliber talents that they've put just an insane amount of roster ammunition around them, ready to win now. I mean, that's the thing. The Texans are like, you got this, you got him on that rookie contract still. You can go out there and get these guys, you bring in Diggs. I think they're ready to win now. And I'd be surprised if they don't. Honestly, I think anything less than it's hard to say the AFC Championship because the AFC is so damn good when it comes down to that level. But anything short of a divisional game is disappointing, I think.
I think you said it best the first time.
I mean, based on what they're expecting, they should be in the AFC Championship. No doubt.
Don't you think they should beat the Ravens? Team like the Ravens? I do.
They should beat the Ravens. They should beat the Bills. They should beat the Jets. They should beat the I'm just going through the list here.
Yeah.
They should beat that's it. The Bengals. Okay. The Bengals.
I guess
that's to me the line.
Any of those teams, not the Chargers, any of those other teams you mentioned. I mean, if they lose to them, but it's like a hell of a game or something, it's hard to make blanket statements, right? But it's like, I kind of feel like they should be in that conversation. You look at their roster; they should be in that conversation.
But the thing is, with all these teams, have one problem, and his name is Patrick Mahomes.
Well, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
Well, my point to that is all these teams have their to break through. If you are the Texans, you want to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You've got you got to hope that your guy is as good or better than Patrick Mahomes, right? At least for that
Right.
game. And so it's kind of like whenever we talk about like Dak and you talk about even Lamar, we're like, okay, I don't blame them for someone paying them because they have to. But at the same time, are you rolling him out? Are you rolling out Lamar being like, we can beat the best of the best? And I think that's the question mark when you come to a guy like CJ. Is he the guy? Can he get that team not to a 1 seed, not to the divisional round or AFC championship, but can he get them to what every team wants in the Super Bowl?
Honestly, I think more than anything, last year was a perfect example that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson aren't the guy, because that you didn't have to be Mahomes to beat the Chiefs last year. You just had to make enough plays. And it was right there for both of them, and they didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
To me,
the Ravens especially. I mean, well, really both. Yeah, you're
to
right.
me, last year showed me the door shut. I'm not taking them. Now, maybe they could win a Super Bowl if Mahomes gets upset somewhere and then they take advantage of it, but I'm not taking them. I'm not doing it because they both had their. Josh Allen choked almost worse than Lamar. He had the ball with a chance to bury him and couldn't do it, and overthrew a guy wide open, and they couldn't make plays when he needed to. And then Lamar was just a joke, but that we kind of thought would happen. But they're not that guy, and CJ hadn't had the chance to do it yet. And we saw Burrow is the guy. Burrow didn't piss down his leg when it was time to go beat the Chiefs like these other quarterbacks have.
Yeah, like who can look at Mahomes across the field and say and not falter, and Burrow has been the only guy that can thrive in that kind of situation so far. Even the loss, came down to the very, very end, right? And so, but yeah, so I think CJ, this is this year and next year are probably his years to prove that he is that guy.
Yep.
But it's a problem for all these, not necessarily the NFC, because at least you don't have to worry about it till the Super Bowl, but a lot of these teams that it's like you're having to account for. Okay, it's not just how do we get to the Super Bowl, it's how do we beat the Chiefs? How do we, you know what I mean? Because you got to have that quarterback that can match up. And right now, we'll see what CJ can do. So
they're certainly what we learned last year. Those guys are not it. They're just not. I mean, and again, if you go and you lose in overtime to the Chiefs the year the Chiefs were, when they lost the Bills lost to them, you lose at Arrowhead, stuff like that. But when you get them at home and you get a Chiefs team that really that version of the Chiefs was the weakest of the ones that have won the Super Bowl so far. I think you can agree with that. Totally. You got to beat them. And if you don't, it's a huge red mark on your reputation as a quarterback.
I was watching the play highlights of the Baltimore game the other day.
Oh, it's a joke.
Like, how did we win this game?
Because they have a joke of a quarterback. That's how you want it.
We came out strong, and then next thing you know, it was like we just asked for them to get back into that game, and now we got the Snead punch out on the goal line. That was massive, but at the same time, like there was so many opportunities in that game for the Ravens to get that back at home, and they couldn't do it. And so we asked for them, and it's like, okay, all right, we'll win. So Falcons. So we go to the Falcons. Who the Falcons devastating? Well, this week will be interesting. So the Falcons are my son's flag football team, and last week we won 30. Well, it would have been like 50 something, probably 50 plus to 6, but the other team quit with 7 minutes left, and it was bad.
Okay, go ahead, and then I have.
It was 30 like 5-6 or something like that. It was actually 6-6, and then we went on a tear. But the team was just like the coach is like, "Do you mind if we just call it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine," But with that said, tonight we play the Dolphins, and the Dolphins beat this same team about the same way we did.
Oh,
and then last week they beat the other team, the Patriots, like 30-0 as well. So they obviously have some sort of ability on their team. And so this will be our test tonight. I told Cohen the other night, I was like, hey, look at it this way. You're guaranteed to play in the Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
Because there's no way we're not beating those other two. But you might be the second best team. We'll find out tonight. So Falcons versus the Dolphins, and the 1 versus 2 currently. We'll see.
So how many games do you play?
I think 8.
Okay, so you play each team like twice, I guess.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we should win all. We should have a lot of wins. Just
yeah.
Maybe I don't know. We'll see. I have really no idea. It's like when you play. You know what it is like when you like when you're playing a really bad team. It's like it's hard to I don't know what these guys can do.
Right.
And you quickly figured out it's like, oh well, this team can't throw the ball. So
right.
I don't know if this team, if you can throw the ball in this league, it's like a game changer, right?
Gotcha.
Because like they're wide open every time. So I saw, I am trying to get them hyped up for the game, but
right.
Because I'm like, hey guys, this is we got a serious game. The opponents might be challenging. Well, and so we'll see. I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know. I think you might need to ask for a refund. I just can't imagine. I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
Well, if my thought is if tonight goes if it's whatever happens, if it's a pretty good game, it's like, okay, can we just the other two teams play each other every week and we can play this team every week and just at least it'd be more challenging and more fun but honestly, Cohen's like, yeah, it's they like running up the score. So.
Well, I'm sure, yeah, but I don't think they're getting a whole lot out of it.
No,
the other team just quits.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad about that, but I started. So, dude, I drew it up so well though. I was like, first series we do ground and pound. Just ran the ball and of course scored. Wasn't hard. And then that very next series I ran play action. Oh man, they bid on it so hard. It was nice when you see your game plan come together.
I mean, do I need to say it, or should I just say good job?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for a good job. So
good job. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Good. Hopefully you're gonna have to do it again tonight. Hopefully it works out. Yeah.
Yeah, and we already have so today, Coop got a call. We got a call from the school today, and he was at the nurse, and he wasn't feeling good, and so I went and got him, and he was fine. He's like he just said he didn't want to go to computers or something. He said.
Oh.
So he's already faking, and I said, "Well, if you don't go back to school, I brought him home and gave him breakfast and stuff, and I was like,
yeah,
if you don't go back to school, you're not playing tonight in the game. You're ineligible. I can't let you play." And he's like, "What?" No. I mean, if you're sick, you're sick. I'm not going to have you play. And he's like, "All right, I'll go back."
Well, listen, that's at least you're getting that out of it. That's good.
Yeah. I sent him back to school and he's eligible again. So
all right, that's good. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear he already has learned how to get out of school. That's pretty funny.
Yep.
Tell him you're sick.
My head hurts, and then I was like, "Does your head really hurt?" I said, "Where does it hurt exactly?" He's like, "I don't know."
It's okay. He needs to learn how to lie a little bit better. But
I know. It's like the other day that both boys were complaining. It was I was the next day after it was Tuesday, so after the long weekend, and both boys were like, I don't feel good. I'm tired. Cohen was complaining, and so I was like, and I was like, all right, that's fine. And so I fed him breakfast, and sure enough, Cohen's like, oh, man, that really made my belly feel. I feel a lot better now. He's like, I can do this and do that. I was like, oh, do you feel better? He's like, yeah, I do. He's like, all right, well, get your stuff on. We're going to school. And I took him to school. Yeah, we were a little late, but I was like, no, you're not doing we're not going to sit at home and play PS5 all day just because you are sick. So
right, yeah,
tough crowd,
man. Well, better you than me.
Listen, you can't let them trick you, man.
I will never know. So,
all right, guys. Apparently, Dr. Don't Pass One wants us to stop talking about NFL and talk horses, but we're done talking horses. This guy.
Doctor Don't Pass One. Okay.
Well, we did talk horses for 50 minutes there, so you can go back if you'd like. But that is a wrap on the show. Make sure you go to Twitter at @racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, all the places you listen to. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Racing Dudes on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. You've got Do2 Bet Sports. Obviously, you guys talked everything about this NFL and gave your analysis for all the games this weekend. So make sure you check out Do2 Bet Sports with Halterman and Papa Dude. The Magic Mike Show will be on later. And then, let's see, Del Mar. They're doing Del Mar, right? Del Mar Pick 5, I believe.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I don't know what they're doing.
No, maybe not. I don't know. Sure. I mean, that sounds like something they would. No, they're doing Kentucky Downs.
They're doing Kentucky Downs? Okay.
Kentucky Downs Pick 5. There you go. Kentucky Downs Pick 5. They'll be on at 4 o'clock Central, so stay tuned. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.